Well, Liam's a fantastic coach. We had a fantastic offense last year. Very dynamic, very innovative. Have a lot of respect for Liam and the job that he did.
Speaking along those lines of offensive coordinator, you guys obviously promoted Josh Grizzard. Just what went into that decision and what do you see out of it?
Well, we wanted to hire somebody from Grizzard, North Carolina, and he fit the bill. No, I'm kidding. Josh did a fantastic job all year. Everybody in the building saw how smart he is. Follows the same things I just said about Liam. Just easy to get along with the players. In front of the room, he was fantastic. He's, they call him the Wizard. A lot of players have mentioned that. I'm just very excited to get to see Josh in that role. I know he's excited to get going. He's going to bring some fresh ideas, and which is always good.
Jason, based on how great the offense was last season, top 3 in every important category, how important was it to have Josh here last season to continue with that continuity and already knowing the players and the staff?
Well, it was important to have Josh. It was important to have as many of the offensive staff as we could. As great of a coach Liam is, and we all have a lot of respect for him. He was one part of it, and there's a lot of other parts, including players and coaches. And to have that core group with our offensive line coaches, our tight ends coach, our receivers coach, I could go on and on. Jordan Somerville, Jeff Kessel, added some other people to our staff too that we're excited about. So we felt continuity was very important, especially for the players. That's what they were very excited about once the hire was made.
Jason, dead money gets talked about as some huge anchor, but the last couple of years, a lot of teams finishing at the top in terms of dead money, making the playoffs, having successful years. Is there anything it forces you to do that can ultimately become a benefit when you're building a roster with that, a high dead money to it?
Well, it forces you to, in the position that we've been in for the last few years, to really draft well and to rely on young players and some cheap labor to step into big roles. And so it forces us as scouts, as coaches, as an organization as a whole to dig a little deeper and turn over more rocks and to be a little bit more open to giving other players opportunities. And the proof has been there for a lot of teams, like you said, and we're very proud of the way that we've come out of this with a young team and ascending.
Is it easier to turn to the young players now when you talk about a lot of these guys that you're going to talk to 23, 24 now, maybe just given the landscape? The college players are older, have a little more experience. Does that help that a little bit?
In some regards, not always, an individual case by case. Well, yeah, we've been talking about this a lot. In Carolina, Bryce Young really came on this year and showed why he was such a coveted pick. We think, Penix is a really good quarterback. He's a dynamic quarterback. He's got a really good arm and smart guy. So it's keeping everybody on their edge. I mean, we have to continue to not just remain competitive, but try to stay ahead. Well, you're always trying to get better. You're always trying to improve in all areas. There isn't a year where you think, the quarterbacks in this division aren't any good, so we don't need to do anything. So you're always trying to stay ahead because there's always the other teams in the NFC that you're trying to compete with.
Jason, the number of small school players invited to the combine has been declining since the transfer rules changed. This year, there's only 7 FCS players invited. Normally, it was around 20-something. What does that mean for you as general manager? Does it matter at all? I mean, obviously, the players are transferring up to bigger schools, but how does that affect your?
It means they're not here, and that hopefully we've identified them, and we can keep them a secret, and we can get better value.
Jason, does an injury like what happened with Chris change your evaluation of an in-house free agent and the potential deal there?
I wouldn't say change at all. The facts are he had a serious injury, missed a lot of time. There's still some uncertainty that with any injury like that at this point. So move the void so it gives us more options, more flexibility as it pertains to him. And we just got to make a good decision. But we hopefully can come to an agreement with him, because Chris means the world to this organization, to all of us individually, but as an organization as a whole. I mean, nobody has been more resilient than him. We've been down this road before, a similar path with him. So nobody's been more resilient and works harder than him. So those are the good things. And you know what? If I were a betting man, I would bet on Chris. But you know, still, facts are we have to weigh through some variables here.
Jason, the season didn't end the way that you wanted it. You won 10 games. The regular season, it was a bit of an improvement. How do you kind of summarize 2024 and put a period on things?
I think we, in some regards, it was a very fun season. We came out of we dug ourselves a hole and got out of it, and it was great to see that with our young players. I've never seen a more cohesive group. The chemistry in the locker room is off the charts, and I think that played a huge role in it. Baker plays a huge role in that, along with a lot of other players, Levante, Mike, go on and on, Chris. And we showed that we were competitive to the end. Washington was a fantastic young team with a great quarterback, and we were right there to the end. I think we're there. We just need to continue to build on it.
What are some of the areas that you want to improve on?
Well, I don't think it's a secret. We need to get some help in a lot of areas, particularly defense. It's not as easy as some people might think. The answer isn't always just throwing a lot of money at positions. You got to be smart about it, because you also want to keep, as happy as we are with the offense, you also want to, continue to enhance there too. So, but yeah, we need some help in a lot of areas, which in some ways is exciting for me, because we could go any which way in the draft. So, and it would help our team.
Why does it have been navigating having 3 offensive coordinators in 3 seasons?
Well, it shows Todd has done a great job hiring the offensive coordinators. It's shown that we are a place that people should want to come if they want to accelerate their career as an offensive coach. And it's also shown a little bit of the resiliency of the team to be able to adapt to a different coach every year for the last 3 years.
The NFL world is giving up on quarterback. How do you know you need to give them more time?
What's that now?
When the NFL world is giving up on the quarterback, how do you know it's going to give more time?
There's a little bit of luck involved in that, but it's also, if you know the individual relationships that you or someone on your staff or your head coach might have, and kind of know how the players are wired, it makes it a little easier to take a chance on a quarterback. In the situation you're talking about, that's why these meetings and the process that we're going through right now in the spring of the draft isn't necessarily beneficial for us right now, but it could be beneficial for us down the road.
A lot's being said about the relative value of the running back position, possibly increasing. How much do you feel that what Buccaneers can do for you guys as part of this position?
Oh, I'm sure it has part of that, and justly deserved. He's been a fantastic player for us in a short amount of time. So it has a lot to do with it. He accelerated our offense a little bit. We added a new dimension along with Rashad, and we have an awesome running backs room right now. So, but yeah, he probably had a lot to do with it.
You're talking about finding that cheaper labor later in the draft and anything like that. How happy are you that a year ago? And if this is that conversation now, that a player like that might be
well, yeah, very happy. This is a good running backs draft, so it kind of goes to show you. Last year, I didn't think it was as deep, but we hit a home run. So it doesn't matter in a draft if the experts or the pundits are saying that it's very strong or weak at a certain position. You can still find a great player.
What was it about him? Because there were several running backs that were taken before him. I know there was a knock on his side. He pulled up in pass protection. But what was it about him in the interview process? And I know football character is really important to you guys. But what was it about him that you're like, we want that guy?
Well, I think I would probably throw it back at you, Jenna. You've talked to him, and you see how he is when you talk to him, and we saw the same thing.
Can you speak to the impact of the whole rookie class, whether it's Graham starting from day one, Bucky, Tyke, just the impact that they had on the team this season?
Yeah, it was outstanding. My staff, coaches, they hit it out of the park. We're looking forward to riding the coattails and doing it again this year. Hopefully, it's not every year you do that. You strive for it, but it's going to go down when it's all said and done. When I'm sitting on a beach someday, retired, I'll think about this class and how excited I was about it.
Jason, it's so hard to find day 3 players, not just make the team, but come in and start, and then you want to give them second contracts. But you've been able to do that the last couple of drafts with guys like Zion and Bucky and Cade and all that. Why are the Buccaneers hitting on so many day 3 picks? And you got some more guys in the hopper like Servassier and Painter, etc.
Because it's guys like Andy Spire, Tony Hardy, Donovan Cotton, Rob and Mike Beal. I talk about them a lot, John Spytek, but I'm leaving a lot of my good scouts out without mentioning them. I need to mention all of them here. I feel bad, but it's the scouting staff that has done such a great job. They know what I'm looking for, they know what Todd's looking for, and we know the kind of person that we're looking for, and we see what a great locker room can accomplish, and so we want to continue to keep those types of players, coming in.
How much time do you spend training your staff on this is what we want in a player from a psychological profile, right? Because everybody kind of knows I shouldn't say everybody knows what a good football player looks like, but psychologically there's certain traits that you identify. Yep. How do you go about kind of teaching your scouts to identify that?
It's got to the point where I'm not training them. They know exactly what to do. In fact, since I'm not on the road that much anymore, they're the ones that have the boots on the ground. It's guys like Antoine Murray that has to kind of keep me freshened up on what the kids are like these days. And what and he's another scout, amazing scout for us. What we used to think, 20 years on, I don't want to get antiquated. So 20 years ago, what I thought was maybe something you want to stay away from is now kind of the norm. Kids are on their phones all the time. Social media is important. It's part of their life, and it's little things like that. So I have to keep freshened up.
Jason, what position groups are standing out to you going into this combine?
Good O-line draft. There's a good right backs draft, like I said. Some good interior defensive linemen. But there's always some guys that we are identified as potential sleepers on day 3, and those are the ones that, we're as excited about the first round pick as we are as anybody, but those are the ones that my staff has been making their bread and butter.
As you guys develop your plan for the offseason, do you ask and empower Baker to share his advice and perspective on needs and maybe players he likes?
I talk with Baker often, just like Todd does, but I talk with Baker often. We have a very good, healthy relationship where we can speak our minds.
How much have you seen that change around the league, quarterbacks maybe getting more included in that process?
I don't know how it is other places. I only know what it's like here, but I imagine it's when you have a leader like Baker, it's easy to go to them, and it's easy to take their advice or take their let them give their input. You don't necessarily go with everybody's input, but when you have a leader like that, he knows the locker room better than I do.
There's a lot of different ways to scout players and get information on them, being from their college tape, the combine, pro days, about that. But with all of those things, how important do you weigh what you see here and the interviews that you take here in comparison to those other things, maybe?
It's a piece of it. The interviews I do like, but you also have to keep in mind these guys are prepped more and more every year, and better every year. So it goes back to the scouts' information that they get during the fall, is where you weigh most of your decision on what type of person they are. The testing here is a piece of it, but it all goes back to the tape. We use some analytics. Everybody does. It's a supporting part of the supporting cast of the whole profile, but it goes back to the tape.
You mentioned some of the biggest team needs being on defense. What do you think of Chris Braswell maybe taking that second year lead?
Yeah, so I think he has all the traits, both as a person and a player, to make a big jump. We did a little study on edge rushers in their first year. Some of them have a good first year. A lot of them, the team that won the Super Bowl took a first rounder, and his rookie year he had 1 sack and played very little. And this year he had 10 or 11 sacks and played a huge part in their Super Bowl, their run. So it's that second year that you kind of like to see a jump, and I think he's definitely got the mentality for it. He's excited to show what he can do in that second year. It's just sometimes you got to get used to the pace of the game, the speed of the game, the physicality. There's a lot of intricacies and variables in the defense that can overwhelm a lot of people. So he's not one that's going to be overwhelmed this year.
We haven't had a chance to talk to you since you guys hired Charlie Strong. What does he bring to the staff defensively?
A lot of wisdom, a lot of leadership. He's a good person. He's a great football mind, and I think the defensive line room is going to be very happy about that move.
What was the reaction from some of the Bucs offensive players with Grizzard getting hired? What was the reaction from some of the team?
A lot of great emojis and memes and gifts sent. He was a very popular person in the locker room amongst all players. The O-line, I got a FaceTime they were in the Bahamas, and they were all cheering and having beverages and things like that. So,
Here's my invite.
right. So, a lot of excitement.
Thanks, Jason.